The recording is ready?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I call the meeting to order. We'll begin as usual with the pledge of allegiance.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council President Suzanne Souter.
Here.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Here.
Councilperson Nerman Zubaka. Councilperson Andrew Zelt.
Here.
Also present, Mayor Valerie Leary, City Administrator Antonina Tantillo, City Treasurer James Wisman, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, City Solicitor Michael Hoffman, and City Planner Christopher Rogers.
Note that Mr. Mataway is not with us tonight because he and his wife had a daughter on Sunday. And
Oh,
he
wow.
came home from the hospital today, so he's a little bit. So we'll begin with the minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes, although 2 of them are very short. The first is of the special meeting of Friday, November 7th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Motion approved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The second is the set of minutes for our regular meeting on Monday, November 10th. Are there any additions or corrections for that? Sorry, can you turn it off? I'm sorry. Okay, the next is the minutes of the regular meeting on November 10th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
A second, okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
And finally, the special meeting of November 21st. Again, any additions or corrections? Is there, okay, a second, all in favor? Aye. The minutes are all approved. Mr. Wisman,
Yes, ma'am.
you're up.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. So now I can speak loud and you can hear me well. Well, the bank accounts that we have a total of $13,827,141.73. And that's as of November 30th. And November 30th, we're 41% of the way through the year. Now, with that said, right now we have $6,894,000 in unrestricted funds, and we have $6,932,000 in restricted funds. Now, the next thing is that during the course of the month since last, we're now 41% of the way through the year, and our expenses are up running at 41%. So the expenses are pretty even with the year, month to month. Meanwhile, over under the revenues, we have collected 72% of our revenues, and most of that's the property taxes, which we've done very well in collecting that money. So we have $5,496,002 that we've collected this year to date, which is great. So what my summary would be is that I think we're in very good financial health right now.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Wisman from council?
I just want to know that in the treasurer's report, I like seeing budget stabilization fund line under restricted funds finally. So thank you guys for opening that account and putting it there as a line. Appreciate it. But no questions.
Ms. Pintola.
Good evening. Last month, I made a note that the Double Dot Delaware Street Railroad Crossing Improvement Project had some changes and updates that they've sent on to Norfolk Southern. They have reviewed that internally with our team, and will likely be at the January meeting. They were going to come to the December meeting, but we moved them to the January meeting. So look out for that next month. We are also planning to have the Dobbinsville Fishing Pier, have Denmark come back and reacquaint us with that project as they continue in the final stages for permitting. That will be in the coming months as well. As the same as last month, the Public Works Department has begun the leaf collection, which is completed on an as-needed basis as time permits. So just please assist the city in collecting the leaves and sweeping your piles up, and we'll be by to collect them. Regarding some grants, we finally received notice that we got federal approval for one of the Homeland Security cybersecurity grants just a week or so ago. So we'll begin that project. Unfortunately, for the Bike Delaware grant that in August for the design phase of the Delaware River Trail study and project, we unfortunately did not get that award. I just heard back last week. I have asked for some feedback and I'm waiting a reply. But the good news is we did receive an LRPT Outdoor Parks, Recreation and Trails grant. I just received word on Friday. I haven't received the official approval, so I'm not quite sure of the amount. I was informed that there were some additional funds that were available, so I'm hopeful that some additional funds were awarded to us. So once I hear back on the final award amount, I will certainly share that, but I did want to share the good news that we did receive that grant. And just a reminder that that is a matching grant. So we will pursue other grants to make that match, including the TAP grant coming up in the late winter, early spring.
I just asked why there, ORPT, that was for the bike trail.
That was the bike track. We have received other ORPT grants in the past for the playground and such. I did meet with the UD IPA Grant Assistance Program to look for grant opportunities to encourage safer railroad crossings. One of the federal grants we looked into may be a good option for us to explore down the line. And they do recommend pursuing a feasibility study first to determine how to go about making the crossings as safe as possible. So I'll continue to meet with them and develop a plan to find funding for a feasibility study. At the last meeting, I shared that we had intended to apply for a federal historic preservation fund grant for certified local governments, and we did complete that application. The first grant that we just submitted was for to continue pursuing a historic designation for the Buttonwood School and to begin pursuing a historic designation for Dobbinsville. We will submit a second application sometime this spring for a project with efforts in recognition of America 250. Just a friendly reminder, as always, please continue to encourage your neighbors to sign up for Code Red if you haven't, especially as we're now approaching the winter season. We may have some icy conditions and things like that. We want to get everyone notified of that. I have some updates on the city projects for paving and ADA curb repairs as we end the year. For Cirillo, they were working on the sidewalks, drainage, and curb improvements as a result of roadway mill and overlay operations. As of the beginning of the month, the following roadways have been milled and overlaid. This includes Buttonwood Avenue, West 10th Street, Kingsway, and Queens Court. We still will work to complete in the spring an mill and overlay of School Street, Cherry Street, and Foundry Street. We will replace striping that was removed, install any speed humps that were removed, adjust inlets at 7th and Delaware, and rehab the Dobbinsville basketball court, which was approved during the past budget season. So that work will continue as we hopefully get into the warmer season in the spring. For APS, they were working on the ADA improvements throughout the city. So thus far, 4th and Williams, 4th and South, the fire company entrance, 5th and Williams, 2nd and Plum, 2nd and Harmony, 3rd and Harmony, 4th and Harmony, and 5th and Harmony. Market and Harmony, 3rd and Chestnut, and 5th and Tremont have already completed. And additionally, the domes that were required that we asked them to paint them gray have been painted. There are some additional improvements to be completed at Harmony and the Strand, 4th and Chestnut, and with the addition of the ADA domes, we will also paint the crosswalks. Again, that will be completed in the spring. And then finally, the partnership with the Delaware Historical and Cultural Affairs via the Newcastle Courthouse for a ongoing food drive for the city, for the Food Bank of Delaware. Continues through the 19th. We will also have the food bank at the Spirit of Christmas event on Saturday. And we thank everyone who has brought in donations thus far. There have been a ton and it's much appreciated. So I know that the food bank will be really excited for that. So thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Tinslow?
Yes. We have to continue finalizing the water fountain. And then we can, once we get that design situated, we will move forward with getting some quotes for the fencing.
I have a question about the playground. I know we
Yeah.
decided to go with ADA fencing or something, or
Yeah,
exploratory, I don't know, like. what-
Yeah, so we'll come back probably in January with Encore, it might be February, I'm not quite sure of the timing, to finalize the plans for the fencing. I have been working with Encore to look into the different fencing options and the layout and meeting with the contractor. And we'll come back and present that to council, should it be the will to install that fence.
Is that, changing the timeline potentially? I know that,
It did not.
Dan mentioned that it would be February or something, start date. Okay.
It should not, and the installation of the playground itself is not dependent on the installation of the fencing, so it wouldn't impact that.
Same.
And the playground equipment has been ordered, and we're hopeful that will stay on track for the timeline. Mhm.
Anything else? Pardon me, anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. Wery?
We did not have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Oh, thank you for catching. Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's report subject to audit? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you again, Ms. Wery. Gee.
Okay, good evening. I have a few things for tonight. First, you may be aware now that on the 27th, the day before Thanksgiving, an OHS sponsored DUI checkpoint took place at the city. This was led by the Delaware State Police, and our agency was the host agency. We had over 35 police officers participate in this. We had both lanes of travel set up for checkpoints. And we had significant results. We ended up with 5 DUIs, 3 were alcohol, 2 were drug related. Aside from the DUI arrest, we ended up recovering 2 firearms. We made 1 significant drug arrest, 1.5 pounds of marijuana that were individually packed for sale, and $1,200 in cash. Drug paraphernalia, all recovered. Over 40 citations and seatbelts violations for the primary charge were issued. And we counted 308 vehicles that traveled through the area in about a 6 to 7 hour period. So it was a really good effort in collaboration. I think I lost track of how many agencies participated, but most of the Newcastle County agencies that we had. Dave had some officers there. We had some, I think, a Sussex County agency as well. So it was a successful night. Those 5 DUIs are not part of the DUIs that were in this report. Those were separate DUIs. One of which was about 30 minutes before we set the checkpoint up. Somebody tried to make a U-turn on the railroad tracks, unfortunately got stuck. They were found as a DUI. The crash data this month seemed to climb just a little bit, not drastically, but there were significant crashes that we had this past month. One obviously involved the train tracks where they turned around and got stuck. The other was an actual car that crashed into a train. That driver was cited for failure to obey a signal and call the train there. We also had 2 pedestrians struck this month, which is kind of rare. One was in the same area of that railroad track. He was crossing outside of a crosswalk in the dark. The driver didn't see him. Non-life-threatening injuries, but he was significantly injured. And the second was in a parking lot. This is the driver, the pedestrian walked out of the store and walked in front of the car. One want to talk briefly about the Spirit of Christmas coming up this Saturday. We're going to put a post out on Facebook, but there will be some road closures for this event. On Friday, Market Street will be closed so that Public Works has the opportunity to set up the bandstand. It will remain closed until after the event, obviously. Delaware Street will be closed from 3rd Street to 2nd Street, as we typically do, to open up the square. And then right around 4:30, when the tree lighting starts, we're going to close 2nd Street and then open up Delaware Street, and very carefully get cars that are coming off the Strand or away from the wharf, out of the city through Delaware Street. Then the last thing is, we had a 5K that went well this past Sunday. That route isn't as intrusive as the attack addiction route. I think they had over 150 runners, but the event was handled very well. We had no issues. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Questions for the chief?
I just had a couple of questions. The crosswalk you said near Railroad, was that on 8th Street or was it over the tracks closer to Walgreens?
So he was outside of a crosswalk, so meaning there was no crosswalk. So yeah, that's probably.
I was just trying to see if there's something in that area that's confusing drivers or something.
Yeah.
And then my other question was about noise and disorderly premise for this month is, was double to 99, and last year this time around was 56. I was just trying to see what's happening, which area of the city.
Yeah. So the disorderly premise itself, the ordinance, it's been a minute since we've actually invoked that. So I don't think we've risen to the level where we're actually issuing those warnings. But loud party complaints, loud radio complaints, things like that.
Do you know the area that got a lot of these complaints out of 99 or?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a specific area or not, but I can certainly.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
You're looking great, by the way.
Sorry.
You're looking great, by the way.
Thank you very much. A lot more comfortable. I'll tell you that.
You're less comfortable.
Council Communications, Mr. Sabato, would you like to start?
Just wanted to say, I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving and had some, good family time and Friendsgiving as well, and enjoyed some good food. I know we have another holiday coming up, or several holidays, so everybody, get ready. Guess this coming up Monday, we have a holiday as well, so, hope everybody's able to celebrate with their dear ones. If you have more food and school supplies, please drop them off at Newcastle Elementary School. Beyond December, that Antonina just mentioned, all the way to January. So just wanted to reiterate that from last meeting. We did buy a house. I'm really excited. We just started moving in yesterday, so I did want to just note something funny that we're grateful we have Airbnbs in town because we've been able to stay there for a couple of days while we're selling our house, moving to a new house. So that was kind of nice to be able to not have to go far away to, do all the logistics. And the last thing I wanted to ask is for Antonina. A couple of months ago, we passed a resolution to send a letter of invitation to World Cup qualifiers. Just wanted to, now we know qualified basically, and just wanted to know this is something we're sending soon.
Yes.
And I wanted to see if we want to reach out to Historical Society to be one of the signatories, and I think mayor should be probably the main signatory as a face of the city, and then council as well. But I think those two would be.
I'm sorry to catch letters to
Oh, the World Cup qualifiers,
the World Cup. Yeah, that's what I thought you were.
Mhm.
Thank you, yeah. Was planning on, connecting you this week to.
Sounds good. That's all I have.
Good evening, everyone. So this past Saturday, we had the pancake breakfast at the Goodwill Fire Hall from the Lions. It's very successful. Lots of people were there. Santa was there, and the Lions did $1,000 donations to Goodwill, which was great. Another thing is our SAPA had their wreaths that they were putting together. If you walk around town, you'll see everything is decorated. And wreaths are up, and thanks to the town, the city, as well as our SAPA for pulling this together. It's Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Erica. Erica, the frequency, right? Okay, pardon me, Mr. Dennis.
Sure, just a few things. I did attend the Goodwill Lions Club breakfast, although we got there pretty late. We got to enjoy our breakfast. It was a very, very nice event. We look forward to it every year. I also mentioned that the Bull Hill Boatyard did have a bonfire at the boatyard on the 14th of November. They plan to have another one. These bonfires are open to the public. They're open whether you're a member or not. It's just kind of a way if people are interested or want to ask questions, come down and join. No pressure, but they will be advertising the next one again in the weekly. My wife and I did participate in Community Collaborative of Delaware's 5K this weekend. Another nice event. It was a perfect day for it. The police were out in full force and kept everybody safe. So again, I just wanted to mention we have so many things going on in the city. It's nice. We also had an Old Newcastle Litter Crew cleanup on Sunday. We did Delaware Street and Ferry Cutoff. We had 10 volunteers. We collected 28 bags of trash and a lot of debris. So with that said, I'd like to thank Public Works and the city for actually, we take our trash and debris to one location and then the city picks it up Monday with our trucks. So I do want to say thank you to Public Works. We appreciate them doing that. I also attended the holiday market on Shaw Alley on Sunday. Another nice affair. It seemed to have a lot of people there, so hopefully that went well for them. And my wife and I also attended the variety show on Friday night at Town Hall, and I thought the variety show was phenomenal. It's hard to believe how many people in town actually are that talented. So it's good. There's a lot going on. Looking forward to Spirit of Christmas this Saturday. But I also, a couple other things I wanted to mention. It is nice to see that we're already at 95% on tax collection. So we're doing really good on that side, and it's lasting. Happy holidays, everyone.
The weather report for Saturday is looking better.
That's what I've read too. I have a few things. The finance committee had its second meeting last week. You may recall this was a recently established committee. We heard presentations from two firms offering management services for city funds, both those needed for day-to-day expenses and funds reserved for long-term projects and budget stabilization. We'll be hearing from two more firms next month. And after receiving and reviewing all the information, the committee will make a recommendation to council. Next month, the committee will also begin to consider how we might implement differential tax rates for different classes of property, as we were recently approved by the state legislature to do. There are many factors to consider in making this decision, so we want to start well before the budget season begins later in the spring. I too would like to thank all the members of Goodwill Fire Company, the Ladies Auxiliary, and the Newcastle 100 Lions Club for another great breakfast with Santa on Saturday. I learned that morning that this was the 55th year for that event, which is really great. And for me, this is the beginning of Christmas. This Christmas season in Newcastle is to go to that breakfast. And it was damp and dreary outside, but warm and cheery in the fire hall. Thanks to everyone who stepped up to make Spirit of Christmas happen this year. I don't think we realized how much the day meant to Newcastle residents until cancellation was threatened. There are plans in place for lots of fun activities for both adults and children, so it should be a great day. But as Mr. Wisman just said, the long-range forecast is looking better, not quite so cold as it was originally saying, and a little less windy. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I hope to see many of you there this Saturday from 10 to 5, culminating with singing, Santa, and tree lighting. And finally, of course, this is our final meeting of the year, so I wish everyone a happy holiday season and best wishes for a joyous time with family and friends. Mayor Leary.
Unfortunately, I missed the Lions Club breakfast. I just can't be in two places with one body. But it is one of the events I also look forward to just because I really like the pancakes. So it's been a busy month, working with, a team for Spirit of Christmas, to organize this event with less than 5 weeks. I think we've done a darn good job, and I hope that all of you who attend will also see the work that was put into it, and not even so much the work, but the true spirit and love of the event that was put into organizing it. The downtown looks gorgeous, and at night especially too, with all the lights and the wreaths, it's just great. I also went to the holiday market where I probably spent more money than I should have, but that was a good thing for them. But I do want to wish everyone happy holidays and a happy new year, and do not be one of the DUIs out on the street. Okay, that's just keep it at home or walk if you're local. Thank you.
Okay, and now we have the report from Goodwill Fire Company, Captain Moore.
In front, you have, fire and EMS for the month of November. I just want to apologize because, our fire reporting system is changing a little bit on the back end. So it more than likely will affect, some data for, I'm hoping just the next meeting, if we're not able to get everything, squared away. What ended up happening is they're changing their national system, NEFRS, and they switched over to NERS. The reason for the change is for better data collection, on the company. So with that, what ends up happening is if you, look through to the fire, report, you'll see that there are numbers on the left-hand side of what is listed for an incident or the incident type. So those numbers will no longer be there, and the verbiage has changed. So I have I did a mock report to see how that will be. However, there's only a couple of reports I can pull from, not in depth of that current 5 pages. So I just want you to be aware that it may look a little different, but I may not be able to have the fire information. Operation Santa for the fire company has started tonight. So there's 6 events that Santa will be going around to, I believe, if I counted correctly. There were Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there's a Saturday event. I do believe there's 1 or 2 weather events. We discovered one that I'm gonna say rain, or maybe snow, whatever. So in case we missed one for a night because of weather, there is a day for makeup. Again, thanks everybody for coming out for the pancake breakfast. It seems like it gets stronger and better every year. Things are seamless for setup and breakdown, and then we always work well together. With that partnership, maybe that's such a success. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Captain Moore? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the report from our auditor for fiscal year 2025. Mr. DeFrager and Mr. Petzman, I don't know who's going to present. Okay, while he's coming forward, I'll just say what I have said before. This is the firm of Wisman, Giordano and Associates. Our treasurer, Mr. Wisman, founded this firm many years ago. He sold it over 20 years ago, so he has no longer been associated with it since that sale. So just to make that clear, since the name is out there. Thank you, Mr. Petzman.
My name is Evan Petzman. I'm a supervisor with Wisman Giordano. I'm joined by Frank DeFroda, the engagement partner assigned to the account. Today we'll be going over the audit of the city of Newcastle for the year ended June 30th, 2025 and 2024. This is a comparative report. This kind of gives you a little bit more insight. It's always better to compare apples to apples. So we're going to start with the table of contents. There are a lot of pages here, 52 numbered pages. I'm not going to bore you with all of it. We're going to keep this pretty quick. First will be the government-wide financial statements. This is basically where we take your numbers and we convert them into full accrual basis, which basically not only brings in your fund accounting, which you guys are used to, it also brings in things such as capital assets, pension, long-term debt, that nature, which are required to be reported on a wide scale. Then we will have the fund financial statements, which is how council is used to seeing them, where things are split between the general fund, you've got revenue fund, capital project fund as well, but not too much goes on in that. Then we will have the notes to financial statements. So there's not too many changes on that part. We will then have the required supplementary information, which is required under the GASB. The most important of this is the schedule of budget versus actual. And then a lot of required pension reports, which I'll talk about briefly. The last two sections are supplementary information just to give a better understanding of some more oddities within the financial statements that need a little bit more disclosure. Finally, under the GASB, we are required to give you a report on your internal control. And of course, attached to that are the findings, costs, if they exist. So moving to page 1, this is our independent audit report. Wait for you to get there. So ultimately, this is our report on the financial statements as a whole. For the current year, obviously it is for the year of June 30th, 2025 and 2024. We believe that in our opinion, these financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects under US GAAP, which is generally accepted accounting principles. Realistically, this is the gold standard of opinions. This is a clean opinion, no issues. This is what you're looking for in every single audit. Our basis for opinion, we follow generally accepted auditing standards similar to GAAP, but this is our standards where we have to follow certain ethical and compliance requirements. In terms of what management is responsible for, management is responsible for these financial statements in their entirety, including every number, every estimate, everything that encompasses these financial statements. These are your financial statements, although we prepare them for you as a non-access service. Everything in here is the property of the city. Ultimately, this still is in draft, so if there are any questions, comments, concerns, we can always address them. Our responsibilities, as I said, are really to attain reasonable assurance as to whether these financial statements are misstated materially as a whole, including both the entity-wide as well as any fund level. You also look at all the notes, the financial statements, and any supplementary information to make sure that everything is properly stated. As I said, we do have to follow some ethical guidelines and compliance guidelines in order to not only be independent, but do our due diligence. There is some required supplementary information. We did audit this information, but that's a very large paragraph, basically saying that it is included. There also is some normal supplementary information not required, however, for the viewer purpose, we have included. And then the last two paragraphs, one about how there is that extra report in the back about internal control. We will get to that when we get the actual report. And finally, restriction on use. This is not intended for everyone to see. This is mainly for the city and those that are state. So going to page 4. This is the entity-wide statement of net position, basically your balance sheet, where you have assets, liabilities, and equity, also in this case called net position. So a very consistent year on a entity-wide level. Once again, this is full accrual where all of the pension aspects, debt, capital assets are all brought up into it. I'm not gonna bore you too much with the changes at this level, since this is not the level in which normal reports are given to council. However, overall, very consistent year. A net positive in terms of the increase in net position, net income of $118,000 on a entity-wide level. Page 5 summarizes the income of the city. This is also at the entity-wide level. Ultimately, with a net income of $118,000, this is down about $800,000 from the prior year. However, this is on the full accrual basis, so there are some pretty messy items in there. Pension really takes its toll on the income of the city. So, moving to page 7. This will be on the fund accounting, which is the modified accrual basis. This is how council is used to seeing it without pension aspects, debt, capital assets, and so on. So overall, obviously a pretty consistent year. Assets up about $200,000. Liabilities consistent. About an increase of about $500,000. A lot of this is due to refundable advances, which is nothing of concern. That basically just means when money is given by a granting agency, revenue cannot be recognized when received. It has to be recognized when spent. So when you receive that grant money, it's not initially revenue. It is initially counted as refundable advance, basically revenue that you will earn once finally spent. So that did go up about $500,000, but that's due to some big grants coming in at the end of the year. Nothing to be concerned about. Fund balance in the general fund down about $570,000. We'll dive a little bit deeper into that once we get to the budget actual. The special revenue fund, overall, the special revenue fund shouldn't see too much change, mainly because a lot of the assets, liabilities, and fund balance in this special revenue fund, they're not earned until they're spent, and there's not too many overages besides the municipal street. Page 8 is just a quick reconciliation that brings us from the fund level to the entity-wide, which adds in, as I stated, the pension and related items.
Can I quickly ask,
Yes.
as I'm reading the depreciation of our capital assets?
Yeah.
Is it then from comparing 2024 about 9 million and then 9.5 in 2025? That assumption then annual depreciation is about $500,000, is that correct? Like that's kind of how
Yeah,
it's.
so on page 8.
And then 13 lists like the straight line method you use.
Yep, yeah, we do use straight line for everything. We follow the IRC code. Realistically, it's all based on a useful life method where, a vehicle might be 5 years, building's 39. We follow a very reasonable guideline that makes sure that everything is depreciated over its estimated useful life.
Thank you.
So moving to page 9, this is the statement of revenue, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. This is on the fund level. So the general fund this year had a net decrease in fund balance of $570,000, whereas the special revenue fund had an increase of about $170,000, bringing a net decrease at the fund level of $400,000. When we really dive into the budget versus actual, we'll see it. And then similar to the reconciliation for the balance sheet, on page 10 is also one for the income statement, where it does bring in your depreciation that you were asking for. This year, depreciation expense about $580,000. I would expect that to be about the same every year. But the main changes in the income are because at the fund level, certain aspects like any capital outlay is expensed immediately, whereas at the entity-wide, we have to capitalize it and pay it over its useful life. So the notes to the financial statements, which start on page 11. And just keep going until about page 32. I am not going to bore you with these. They are incredibly consistent with the prior years. Obviously, numbers will update as what happens. However, very consistent. We didn't add any new footnotes in the current year. So I will actually just skip those. Do not take them. So page 33 is where we're going to pick up. This is starting the required supplementary information. And this is where we will see the budget versus actual. This is what I believe is the most important part of the presentation because it looks at how, basically how well this is budgeted, where some things went right, where something went wrong. Overall, a use of reserves in the amount of 1.65 million was originally budgeted. However, the actual amount of reserves needed in the current year was only $570,000. So a net positive of about $1 million in the budget. Obviously, there still is a net loss of $570,000, but compared to the initial 1.7, let's call it that, I'd say it's looking pretty good. On page 34, there are the explanations of management as to what happened. As far as budgeted revenues are up about $570,000. This is mainly due to some property transfer taxes that weren't expected. With all the home sales, I do expect a lot of transfer taxes, as well as a significant increase over budget in interest and rents. This mainly comes from the interest in which is earned from the city's large surplus of cash. For expenditures, the initial budget amount was 6.8 million, whereas the actual spent was 6.3 million. So a net positive was $400,000 over budget. Sorry, under budget in this case, in terms of expenses. So although the budget was pretty conservative, I'd say a good year on budget. And as I did state, page 34 are management's explanations of any variance over 10%. That's a required number. Anything over 10% has to have some kind of explanation as to what happened. We do audit these, so these explanations are what actually. Starting on page 35 and continuing for a few pages are a lot of pension required supplementary information sheets. So for your pension, it is initially audited by BDO, another firm that is not us, and we lift the numbers out of their report and put it into ours. So ultimately, we do audit the numbers in terms of we run some calculations based on them, but to get a true understanding of these numbers and what happened, why any actuarial values change, please contact your pension contact or your actuary. Because ultimately, we take the numbers from them. Moving on to page 39. I'm just going to quickly run through this because the reports that we looked at earlier, which are the fund level statements, that was the wrap up where everything is combined, whereas pages 39 starts the individual fund grantor presentation, where we will break out every single source of revenue or source of special revenue. Bless you. In order to show it not only on the balance sheet and the income statement. Pretty consistent year to year, nothing major. And then following that on page 46 is where we will combine all. Basically take every granting agency and mush it all together to get the numbers that you see near the front of the financial statement. Finally, we will go to page 49. This is the report that I referred to earlier on internal control, basically which states that We did look at your internal control as required by the GASB. However, we are not giving you an opinion on your internal control. The financial statements as a whole, we did give a clean opinion. However, we're not giving an opinion on your internal control. We did obviously have to look at it as part of our tests, but we're not going to give you an opinion. This report also explains how there are findings and question costs. If they were to exist, what would happen? If we will get to in a moment. So on page 51 starts the schedule of findings. In the current year, we had no findings, nothing of note. However, there were a few findings that kind of lingered for a few fiscal years. A lot of them relating to adjusting journal entries that were unable to be posted due to, I would say, admin software. So during the fiscal year, during the audit, at first we noted no change, but myself, Antonina, Courtney, and representatives at Edmunds, we got together and we were able to remediate any issues that lie. So in this case, we do find that all of the findings, previous findings, since they date back to 2022, have been resolved and closed. So now this is a clean bill of health, no findings, nothing to report at this point. These findings will go away in the next audit. We only have to show them in here just to show that they were finally closed and that there are no current findings. Do you have any questions on the financial statements?
Any questions from council?
Is it normal that the report doesn't have any recommendation, internal controls or?
So those recommendations will mainly be if there is a finding. Okay. So obviously Frank and I could sit down with Anthony and Courtney and go over the controls if you'd like. Give them some little pointers. However, we didn't find any material issues that would cause any issues.
I thought that's what you're saying, but I wanted to make sure that I was
Yeah.
clear. Thank you.
So we find no findings, no issues in the current year, and we've remediated any previous findings. The second shorter report that I've given you is what is called a governance letter. A letter to those charged with governance, in this case being management and a board, or a council. It basically goes over what happened during the audit, any issues, basically what we were looking for. So our responsibility for the financial statement audit, that will almost be identical with what was in the auditor's report, so I won't bore you with that. So the plan, scope, and timing of the audit, we did have an engagement letter and we conducted the audit in a timely fashion. I'm hoping we were early this year. This is what I would expect going forward. The engagement team, which includes myself, Frank, and staff count us on the case, as well as any others that helped. We followed all ethical and compliance requirements regarding independence, qualitative aspects of the primary governance, significant accounting practices. This really reiterates what is we consider significant in terms of your, let's say, any accounting policies that are detailed within the financial statements, such as any significant accounting estimates. As Norman brought up earlier, depreciation is an estimate. So we do note that in here as a sensitive estimate because it's really hard to tell what the useful of an item could be. So we do consider that a significant estimate. We also note any significant policies, which none really that are any concern. Significant difficulties encountered during the audit. This goes back to the findings where although we didn't have any significant difficulties with management personally or during the audit, we initially had to put in a little bit of extra time in order to wrap up and remediate the findings. So going forward, there should be no findings, no issues, hopefully no extra time. Next section is on uncorrected and corrected misstatements. This goes into detail about if something were to be not correctly by management, what would happen, whether it could sway the viewer's judgment. In this case, management has corrected all misstatements. When correcting the findings, Courtney and I also posted all accounting journal entries in the current year, so all adjustments have been made already. They are listed in the back. We'll go over those in a second. As a part of that, we have to communicate to you all adjustments, which are the large list in the back. We have to communicate any disagreements with management. This year we had none. I expect that your staff is fantastic, great people. Representation requested from management. We did provide Antonina with what is called a management representation letter, which will almost say everything that we gave you is true. We're not hiding anything from you, because as the auditor, we can only audit what we're given. So this kind of holds Antonina and her staff to saying what we gave you is factual, accurate. We gave you everything we had. We do have that signed letter. I don't have it with me today. However, Antonina has signed it. Management's consultation with other accounts. Obviously, Mr. Wisman is an accountant of some sort. However, consulting with him as the treasurer does not count for this purpose. This is more of like an opinion shopping issue where, or having someone else implement your accounting policies for you. In this case, no other accounts were used for the purpose in this point. Let's see, other findings, matters, and issues. If we do have any issues with any problem, whether it be accounting policy, internal control, we are required to bring them not only to management, but to council. And finally, this report is solely intended for council management, others within the city. So the final thing that I will just quickly go over is the listing of adjustments. You will see a lot of them, and this may be daunting to some. A lot of this has to do with reconciling the past tense adjustments that were not made, which relates to the findings. In this case, Courtney, I, Antonina, as well as Edmonds have worked together to post all of these. You will also note that some of them may be small. The way that Edmonds works is that we do have to post one adjustment per fund. For a lot of time, it makes it a lot easier. So there are a lot of adjustments that could have been done a little bit easier had Edmonds been a little bit more user friendly. All right, that is everything that I have for you. It was an absolute pleasure working with your team this year, and I absolutely look forward to next time. Are there any questions?
Just have one quick one. Thank you for the presentation. It was really informative, and thank you for not, drilling into too much detail. I know you provided all this, but highlighting things that we should pay attention. Just one last question I have is for page 35. I think I asked the same question last year, but just always strikes me, as I look at the last line about, like the net position as percentage of total pension liability, and for most years it's, lower than 100. Is there a reason why it wouldn't be fully funded, for a city that has 10+ million in, restricted and unrestricted funds, combined? And then just the reality really, or?
Page 35, this all relates to the pensions.
Yes, correct.
And based on an actuarial value, as you have more officers, as people live longer, this is going to be a moving target. So I can't exactly speak to why, because this is ultimately BDO's numbers. An actuary determined these numbers. We simply just lifted it to these statements. So that's definitely a question I would bring to your actuary and your pension contact. It does have a pretty big effect on the city every year.
If I can add to that,
Yeah.
We have our pension through the state, so it's the state's report. We can certainly ask them the basis of the info issue that's been provided, but we present as not being fully funded, but to the matters that I've stated for the reasons for fluctuation.
There's a technical nature about this.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, like Evan said, how long someone's gonna live, market conditions. So, if you look at it today and said you're underfunded $10 million and you had enough cash, you funded it, next year you might be overfunded,
they're not gonna give you the money back. They're gonna leave it.
No, I understand.
They're trying to project and kind of make it smooth over, life.
But being 95, 97 is healthy, I presume, like that's not a concern. Just looking at it, but just curious why it would be 100, but yeah, it's probably an estimate, like you said, that we're following.
And in your particular case, the pension liability, although it affects you somewhat, there are a lot of governments that we're involved with that brings their healthy fund balance down to a negative, significant negative, because they have a lot of employees and they have a lot of police, and kind of distorts it, but you're healthy for all those years. When they implemented these new standards, a lot of governments went negative. And you guys are still positive, so you guys are doing really well against some of the other governments.
Thank you. Excellent.
If there are any specific questions on any numbers, any footnotes, please bring them to Anthena, who will then forward the questions to us. But once again, I'd like to thank you all for your time, putting together such a great team. Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
Good holiday. Last thing, accept the report.
Motion to accept the report.
We have a resolution later in our
Oh.
agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll let you know. Thank you.
Now you guys can clearly see why I got out of that business.
Okay, public comment.
Over to that.
The usual thing, podium, there's a sign-in sheet, please, speak directly into the mic. I guess the mic's turned on because Evan, and, everyone gets 3 minutes, if you felt has the timer. So, who wants to go first?
Wow.
I want to go look up people Stanley.
Good evening, everybody. I am Soma Bellingham, a resident for 45 years. I'm a nosy old man. What I want to know is, there wasn't very much of numbers I got from the person who came up with the audit report. All as a person paying taxes is, now that our treasurer Wishman is here, is a couple of numbers. What was the total amount of taxes collected from June last year to June this year? Number two, were there any grants and how much were obtained by way of grant? And number three is there a liability or any form of obligation by way of loans by the city of Newcastle?
With Dr. Pavilion, those numbers are all available in the budget summary, which is posted on the city website, and we covered all this during the budget conversation, so that's why he didn't go into those details tonight.
At least a simple question, are we okay with the amount of liabilities, if at all there are any liabilities for the city?
The only large liability that I'm aware of is the loan for the Delaware Street project with which the trustees give us the money to pay, and we're on schedule for paying that back. And that does not come out of tax dollars because the trustees give us the money and we pay the loan.
Have a loan for a trash truck.
Oh, yeah, we have, I thought we paid that off from the ARPA money. Or is that a different truck? All right, we have one loan for a trash truck that we're making payments on too, but we're up to date with our payments.
No, I have 1 minute now. Being a healthcare provider for 35 years in this city, I have brought this at a meeting about 4 months ago about people owning dogs and walking the dogs, not picking up after the dog doo-doo. So I suggested that the council come up with some form of a, penalty for anybody who doesn't pick up after the dog. So, yes, can I hear from you all about whether anything could be done? Because I am speaking one or two dropping on my third and Chestnut Street house. It is not right. It's technically, so something should be addressed. Thank you all. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, last call. We're going to now skip ahead a bit on the agenda to do our appointments, since one of our appointees is present tonight, and that way, if he doesn't want to sit through the rest of the meeting, he doesn't have to. So we're going to item number. Well, we'll do number 3 because Mr. Westman's not here. So item 3 is a resolution to approve the mayor's appointment of Mark Lorenz to the Historic Area Commission. So this is resolution 2025-56, which I will read. Whereas the Newcastle City Council passed ordinance 505 in part to amend and restate chapter 230-49 through 52 of the Code of the City of Newcastle related to structure, proceedings, powers, and duties of the Historic Area Commission Act. And whereas the Historic Area Commission shall consist of the following 6 members: an architect licensed in the state of Delaware and having interest and knowledge in the protection, preservation, and restoration of the historic character of the city, appointed by the City Council. The architect shall be a non-voting member who shall serve in an advisory capacity only. 2 city residents having municipal voting privileges and appointed by City Council. 3 city residents having municipal privileges appointed by the mayor. 4 a planning commission member appointed by the City Council. 5 at least 3 voting members shall be residents of and have legal or equitable title to property in the historic district. And whereas there is currently going to be 1 vacant position on the Historic Area Commission, and whereas the mayor has nominated Mark Lorenz to fulfill the expiring term of Kevin Wade, with that term ending on January 10th, 2026. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council hereby approves and confirms the appointment of the following person to the Historic Area Commission. Mark Lorenz, term ending January 10th, 2029. So Mr. Lorenz, did you want to say anything to us?
If you have any questions, my wife and I live at 59 Strand. We moved in 2020, so we've been here a little over 5 years. We have enjoyed our stay. I retired earlier this year. Previously, I was the vice president of support services for Nemours Children's Health, where I was had responsibility for all construction in the tri-state area, facility maintenance of all our buildings, security, food, housekeeping, clinical engineering, and such. So I was responsible for code enforcement as well as fire safety for the organization, and looking forward to being able to contribute back to the community with this PAC appointment. Any questions you may have?
Any questions for Mr. Lorenz? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-56?
No approved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's approved unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Lorenz.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much, and I'll take you up on your offer too.
Cut out early. Okay, so now we'll go back to the published order. which means the first item, the next item is item one, old business. Continued council discussion and possible vote on resolution 2025-51, a resolution addressing remote participation in city meetings. This resolution was originally Mr. Zabaka's proposal. We'd had prior discussions on it, and the original resolution has been amended. So in our packets, we have a copy of both the original with the red and clean copy with the amendments incorporated. Mr. Zabaka, did you have any comments or?
Not really. I just wanted to say thank you for incorporating changes so we can see all the, we had this discussion over several meetings, so I think it's, well thought up, and I'm excited for the public to have ability to also attend meetings virtually and be able to, comment like that, especially in months like this, where it might be a little too cold to, attend. So, but yeah, no more comments.
Actually, maybe I should read it with the amendments, just so that everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's not terribly long. Resolution 2025-51. Whereas the city of Newcastle currently televises city council meetings and other meetings of city boards, committees, and commissions, such as Planning Commission, Tree Advisory Commission, Historic Area Commission, Board of Health, Board of Adjustment, Board of Building Appeals, Board of Elections, Emergency Planning and Operations Committee, Flood Resiliency Committee, and the Police Accountability Committee. And whereas the city of Newcastle desires to allow remote participation in meetings for all boards, committees, commissions, and council. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Newcastle will adopt the following remote meeting policy. All city meetings of the city council and any commission, board, or committee established by the town charter, code, or resolution may include virtual participation under the following conditions. For meetings of the city council or any commission, board, or committee, or any new board, committee, or commission may participate in a meeting remotely in accordance with state of Delaware FOIA requirements per Title 29, Section 10006A, which include the following. 1, meeting notice agenda must include information on how members and the public may participate virtually. 2, meetings must include an anchor location. 3, the identities of members of council or any commission, board, or committee must be verified in a manner satisfactory to the chair, and all participating members must be able to simultaneously hear comments from a recognized speaker. And 4, documents used during the meeting must be provided to each participating member. Participating members count towards a quorum, whether virtual or in person. For the meetings of city council or any commission, board, or committee, or any new board, committee, or commission, at least one member of which must be present at the anchored location where members of the public can attend, and electronic means of communication are available. Each city council member may participate virtually in no more than 3 regularly scheduled monthly council meetings in a calendar year. Each member of a commission, board, or committee established by the town charter or code may participate virtually in no more than half the meetings during a calendar year. Any member of city council or board or committee who wishes to participate virtually must notify the chair, city administrator, and appropriate administrative office staff no later than 12 hours before the scheduled meeting. For meetings of the city council or any commission, board, or committee, members must maintain a visual and audio presence as a minimum requirement to be recognized as present, including for voting purposes. Furthermore, members shall make a good faith effort to maintain a visual and audio presence for the duration of the meeting, allowing for intermittent breaks related to personal well-being, technical issues, or poor internet connection. So that's the criteria that are set forth in this resolution. Is there further discussion about this?
I just got a couple comments. Sure. Yep. So I appreciate the changes that were made. Obviously, I'm a proponent of being here in person, but I also understand due to health issues, vacation, or business trips, it's nice to have some flexibility to be able to attend the meetings, while you're not in town. Obviously, for council, it's limited to only 3 regularly scheduled meetings. But it also helps with the special meetings. I know last year we had an incredible amount of special meetings, and some during regular business hours, work all the time. So that is some flexibility that's appreciated. And then for members of boards or committees, they can do up to half of the meetings. And I do appreciate the fact that they have to maintain the visual and audio presence, excuse me. So thank you for the changes. And again, I'll be the first to say if I think that there's somebody abusing it or there's a problem, I'll be the first one to come back and say, hey, we need to change this. But I think it's written, it's pretty good. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the discussion we had so far on this, and you know, I could not agree more. This is one of those things, and anything really that happens in this city where you see any abuse, well, you know, we're pretty active council to, you know, react and modify things if there wasn't, you know, meeting intent behind resolution. So.
Any other comments? I guess my only addition is for the boards and commissions, the standards are different, but for council, the ultimate judge of whether or not someone is abusing it are the voters. So our current code and state law would not permit us to discharge someone from council for attending 6 meetings a year virtually or whatever. But obviously if that person stood for re-election, then it would be up to the voters. So, are we ready to vote on this? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-51? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is passed. Okay, the next is a resolution to approve the audit, the report of which we just heard. It's very short, resolution 2025-54. A resolution to approve the fiscal year 25 financial audit, whereas the firm of Wissman, Jordana and Associates completed the fiscal year 25 financial audit and their representative has reviewed the draft audit with the city council at the city council meeting held on Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby approves the fiscal year 2025 financial audit. Is there a motion to approve? Any further comments on this?
I just wanted to say that next year, I think there's gonna be drastically different because this compares 2 years and, you know, then when we look at 26 and 25, we'll have a larger budget, you know, so I think it's much easier to follow it now, but next year's gonna be a little unusual because it's gonna be a bigger jump, but yeah, they did a great job.
And I would just like to say thank you to Antonina and Courtney for getting all this together and obviously it was a glowing report, so thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to have that. Notes this year.
Yeah.
Right, yes, thank you for resolving all those notes that have been dragging along for the past 3 years. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-54.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is approved. The next item is another appointment. This is resolution 2025-55, a resolution to reappoint Michael Westman to the Historic Area Commission. Whereas the Newcastle City Council passed ordinance 505 in part to amend and restate chapter 230-49 through 52 of the Code of the City of Newcastle relating to structures, proceedings, and powers and duties of the Historic Area Commission Act. And whereas the Historic Area Commission shall consist of the following 6 members: an architect licensed in the state of Delaware and having interest and knowledge in the protection, preservation, and restoration of the historic character of the city, appointed by the city council. The architect shall be a non-voting member who shall serve in an advisory capacity only. 2 city council residents having municipal voting privileges and appointed by the city council. 2 city residents having municipal voting privileges appointed by the mayor. A planning commission member appointed by the city council. At least 3 voting members shall be residents of and shall have legal or equitable title to property in the historic district. And whereas Michael Westman's term expires January 10th, 2026, and he is willing to be reappointed, now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby approves and confirms the reappointment of the following person, Michael Westman, term ending January 10th, 2029. Mr. Westman's not with us this evening. He has been serving. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-55?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution's approved. Okay, the next item, which is number 4 on the agenda, is a resolution to restrict parking along both sides of C Alley. Yeah. So I'm just going to read the resolution and then I think we can look at the map and if there's any discussion. Whereas the city council maintains the authority to exercise all municipal powers necessary to the property administration of the city municipal government for the well-being of the city's citizens. Whereas this authority includes regulation of parking along city streets and rights of way. And whereas city council understands and acknowledges that parking on city public rights of way should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis, considering the facts and circumstances affecting public safety and convenience unique to each case. Now therefore be it resolved that the following described area in the city be made a no parking zone, and that the city administrator is directed to take those steps necessary to implement this restriction, including posting appropriate no parking signs at suitable locations as she deems appropriate, along both sides of the alley named C Alley from West 9th Street to approximately 173 feet in an easterly direction down C Alley, beginning per Exhibit A. So, did you want to talk to us about this?
Yeah, so as you can see on the map, 821, the address at the bottom, does not have access to go out the sides of C Alley. And there are some issues with the width of that alley that would, if someone parked on that alley, would prohibit the resident at 821 from leaving and having to take an alternative route on unpaved roads. So we are hoping to restrict parking on that area and alleviate the issue that the resident at 821 faces.
So the only way they connect it to the street from their property is on this alley.
Correct.
So if it's blocked by parking, then they're essentially trapped.
Correct.
My question here is the 821 a residential? Do they have trucks coming out of there, or like, is there an issue of the larger truck? Because I would, where's the 505 in a park, I guess?
They can park on front, on my,
Okay.
there shouldn't be an issue with. It's just regular, smaller vehicular traffic.
So the West 9 should accommodate all these lots, parking. And is this reactive or is this proactive?
So there have been some issues with the person being, is this a home on 821?
I believe so. Yes, and there were some vehicles that were parking in the alley, and I think it caused actual panic or concern, and the neighbors were about, but we don't want there to be an issue. So we're trying to work the purpose of parking and put signs up.
Is it? Pardon me. Is anyone else? impacted by this? I mean, the people at 506 and 820 and 816, do they have parking?
Yes, on the other side.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing everybody's getting out of the street on this easement, right? Because I don't know what the front looks like, but is that correct?
They should be able to get out on that. The front is not.
No, no, but there's no car, is there a parking up front there, or is it?
Yeah, I believe they can park on the street.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, the residents on 9th Street, they're parked on the street. And this is zoned, this is residentially zoned. And I believe 821 has recently transferred, but it is a single family dwelling on the property right now.
Yeah, same as earlier discussion, worth being proactive. And then we can reevaluate if this is causing, traffic jam or not or something, but things are not gonna be an issue.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-57?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. Okay, the next item, number 5, is to approve the letter of referral to the city council from the planning commission to send the Office of State Planning Coordination regarding the 5-year comprehensive plan review. Our planning commission has spent, I think, most of the past year at each meeting, they would do different sections would review different sections of the comprehensive plan, which was established in 2020. And so this is the midpoint of the review, and state law requires that we conduct this review. The letter that we have outlines which chapters they covered at each meeting throughout the year. I'm gonna read like the introduction and the summary without.
Read it, Ms. Rogers, Chair.
Oh,
Do they wanna?
So, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What you have in front of you, as Council President was speaking to, is a draft letter to the Office of State Planning Coordination that would be set with your approval tonight, stating that your comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2020 is still valid. And just to give you some context as to what is required by state law, the state law says, this is from Title 22, Section 702, at least every 5 years, a municipality shall review its adopted comprehensive plan to determine if its provisions are still relevant, given changing conditions in the municipality or in the surrounding area. So that's the statement in the law regarding the 5-year review. And then it goes on to say that every 10 years, you have to revise it or just re-adopt it. So as the Council President was saying, the Planning Commission started the review of the existing plan in January. They assigned commission members different chapters. You can see the different chapters they reviewed over the different months. And they came to the conclusion that, similar to the language in the state law, that the current comprehensive plan is still meeting your needs. Having said that, we found it a very useful exercise. They discussed a lot of items that assuming that they're still on the commission or the issues are the same, they discovered a lot of items that they would, perhaps like to see changed during the next planning process. They look forward to the new plan at the 10-year mark. They envision a very robust, public participation process when that 10-year time period is due. But for now, given what's involved in revising a comprehensive plan, they found that the current plan is still meeting today's needs.
Any questions for Mr. Rogers?
I just think there's one spelling, error that needs to be, on the second page, back of the page, exercise, I think it's missing an S, but other than that, I think it looks great.
Oh, yes. Second line in the next to last paragraph. So that can be corrected, I guess, before it's sent in.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve this letter transmitting our plan review, summary of our comp plan review to the state?
Motion approved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion is adopted. Thank you. Okay, the next is a very lengthy and very complex ordinance revising our building code. This is the first reading, so there'll be no discussion. And because of the length and complexity of this, I'm requesting, would someone make a motion to, instead of reading the entire ordinance, which is 24 pages, to read it by title and recitals only. In other words, the rationale, the whereas clauses. So
I'll make a motion that ordinance number 2025-5-61 be read in title and in recitals only.
Okay, is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, then I'll read this part, and again, there'll be no discussion of this tonight because it's the first reading. We will have a public hearing and second reading and discussion at a future meeting. If anyone wishes to review this entire ordinance, it's available on the city website. Or if you would like a hard copy, a printed copy, you can stop by the city office and they'll make one for you. So here we go. Ordinance 2025-561 is an ordinance to amend the City of Newcastle Municipal Code, Chapter 102, Building Construction, Chapter 103, 1 and 2 family dwellings, Chapter 162, Mechanical Standards, Chapter 163, Fuel Gas Standards, Chapter 164, Existing Building Code, Chapter 165, Swimming Pool and Spa Code, Chapter 181, Plumbing Code, Chapter 185, Property Maintenance Code, to adopt the 2024 versions of the International Council Code, ICC, including to require residential sprinklers. Whereas the Council of the City of Newcastle, City Council, possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the City of Newcastle's municipal code, city code. And whereas the City Council is charged with ensuring the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the City of Newcastle by administering and enforcing the regulations of the building industry. And whereas by the adoption of this ordinance, the City Council intends to, 1, amend and restate Chapter 102 of the City Building Code, Building Construction, consistent with the International Building Code 2024 edition with revisions. 2, amend and restate Chapter 103, Building Standards for 1 and 2 family dwellings, consistent with the International Residential Code 2024 edition with revisions. 3, amend and restate Chapter 162, Mechanical Standards, consistent with and pursuant to Chapter 24, to Title 24, Chapter 18 of the Delaware Code, that the Office of Code Enforcement shall enforce the most recent version of the International Mechanical Code published by the International Code Council as adopted by the State Board of Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Ventilation, and Refrigeration examiners. 4, amend and restate Chapter 163, Fuel Gas Standards, consistent with and pursuant to Chapter 24, to Title 24, Chapter 18 of the Delaware Code, that the Office of Code Enforcement shall enforce the most recent version of the International Fuel Gas Code published by the International Code Council as adopted by the State Board of Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Ventilation, and Refrigeration examiners. 5, amend and restate Chapter 164, Existing Building Code, consistent with the International Existing Building Code 2024 edition with revisions. And 6, amend and restate chapter 165, consistent with the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2024 edition with revisions. 7, amend and restate chapter 181, plumbing, consistent with and pursuant to Title 16, Chapter 79 of the Delaware Code, that the Office of Code Enforcement shall enforce the most recent version of the International Plumbing Code published by the International Code Council as adopted and modified by the Delaware Division of Public Health. 8, amend and restate Chapter 185, property maintenance, consistent with International Property Maintenance Code 2024 edition with revisions. And whereas the City Council finds that the provisions of this ordinance are rationally and reasonably related to, substantially advanced, and are narrowly tailored to achieve its goal of protecting and preserving legitimate governmental interests, including but not limited to the protection and preservation of the public health, safety, prosperity, general welfare, and quality of life. Now therefore making the express finding that the proposed changes outlined below enhance the health, safety, and welfare of the city of Newcastle, be it ordained by the council of the city of Newcastle as follows, and then follow many pages of change this to that. So that's the first reading, and we will be revisiting this at a future meeting for a second reading, a public hearing, second meeting, and discussion. Thank you. Okay, the next item is a discussion and possible vote of awards for employees, citizens, and businesses. The council has information with nominations. We have 3 categories of awards. The first is the City of Newcastle Citizens Unsung Hero Award, which up to 6 people can be selected. So I am going to, is there a motion to approve, to select, who to select out of this list?
I'll make a motion, we select number 1, number 3, number 5, and number 6 out of the list for unsung heroes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. And the second set of awards is the City of Newcastle Business Difference Maker Awards. There are 2 to be selected from a list. And is there a motion as to which of these we might select?
I'd like to make a motion to select Mozart Gallery and, 2 and 5.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to the motion to select number 2 and number 5?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And finally, the City of Newcastle Employee Awards, 2 to be selected out of 5 on the list. Is there a motion as to which 2 we might select from these?
I'll make a motion of number 1 and 4.
Okay. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All right, the motions are adopted. The City Employee Awards will be announced to them at the holiday party next week, and the rest, all of the awards will be formally presented at our January meeting. Okay. The next thing is we have a vendor permit request. And resolution 2025-58. A resolution to approve the vendor permit application for Tasty Bliss LLC. Whereas the City of Newcastle Code requires licensing to vendors within the City of Newcastle. And whereas Tasty Bliss LLC has petitioned to be considered for a vendor's permit and has supplied all of the required documentation, including the required insurance, state health department certificate, and City of Newcastle business license. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Newcastle has granted Tasty Bliss LLC a vendor's permit to sell food and drink items in calendar year 2025. We have attached to this a copy of their application for its vendor's permit, their business license, a picture of what the operation looks like when it's set up, a copy of their liability insurance, and liability insurance, and a copy of their state Delaware health certificate for a food establishment. So, is there any discussion of this?
Just short comment that for anybody interested, their products, they're bringing in empanadas, cookies, and assorted pies, and it seems like, my understanding is they just want to operate here on this upcoming Saturday, on the 13th, on the back page, I think, the last page.
Well, yeah, they, assuming we approve this permit,
so
yes,
that-
they will
it's
be
just a one
part
day
of
approval.
Spirit of
Would be a-
Christmas. Yeah, was it's, they would have to reapply. Well, they would have to get renew their business license if they want to continue in 2026. Right. So, any further discussion? Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the motion's approved. Yes. The final item on the agenda is a proposal for a contract, with Verizon, Verizon contracts with a group called Vertical Bridge. The council has had, advice and review the material for this. Is there a motion for action on this, proposal?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we decline Vertical Bridge's proposal to renegotiate the lease.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the application is declined. And I think we're set. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you all very much. Thanks for coming.
Take care, everybody.